What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Mates. I'm Matthew, and I'm here joined today by the almost birthday boy, Nathan Poppled.
What's going on, guys?
We were just checking before this video. He was a young 17, 18-year-old boy when this channel began. So tomorrow he's going to be the big 2-1.
2-1. Wow. Long time coming. Just so many years of bringing you guys bangers.
I know.
It's crazy to believe we've been doing it for this long. We're just that good at what we do right now.
Exactly. We're in the prime of our craft right now. And so speaking of people that are younger than you, actually, let's skip right into the topics of this video with 19-year-old Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics. Because, you know, he's always going to be 19. That's the running joke with Jason Tatum. He's 19 years old. So, Nate, we got to talk about the surging Celtics real quick, right? That's where we got to start this off.
The hottest team in the NBA right now, surprisingly. I definitely didn't see this coming after, the trades for Tice and Derek White. But this team has found its identity, specifically rooting back to the identity that has, for the last couple of years, has been what the Celtics is defensively.
Yes.
Always one of the top 5 defensive teams. I believe right now, they're still 2 behind Golden State. Maybe it's different now since Draymond was out for so long. But we are a lockdown team, and we're scoring more efficiently. And that has to do with Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum has been playing out of his mind recently, especially against the Brooklyn Nets, it seems, and dropping 54. I mean that game was awesome. It's crazy.
One of the many crazy scoring barrages that have been happening
in this month. March. Just not even this month, just this first half of this month, really.
Right.
I mean. Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy just how much we were talking about this team back in the day. I was so disappointed.
Back in the day,
a couple months ago. I was so disappointed in this team. I thought we were going to be like a first-round exit / playoff team, play-in team, and I was so disappointed. Now I think we're a bona fide contender. I am comfortable saying that we are a bona fide championship contender to represent the East this year. So, yeah, I mean, I just love what I've seen offensively. We've kicked it into high gear. I've liked what I've seen playmaking wise. Even some of our, one of my least favorite players, Grant Williams, has been playing good. One of the most efficient 3-point shooters in the league right now, surprisingly. But hey, I'll take it. No matter how much I dislike him, I'll take some points. And I just really like what this team is doing as a whole. I think everybody's playing their role to perfection. We've unlocked the Time Lord. Obviously, the Time Lord is what we all thought he could be, and he's won. I believe he's averaging somewhere around 2.2 blocks. He's top 5 in blocks this
season.
Probably
going to be a first-team all-defense type of guy, maybe even get some Defensive Player of the Year votes.
I mean, almost everybody in this team can play defense, and almost everybody in this team can shoot for the most part.
Right.
So, I've just been really happy. What have you thought about the Celtics surge recently?
I think the one thing or the main thing that you missed on is something clicked with especially Tatum, but everybody on the team. And the problem with the Celtics was always we thought they needed to break up Tatum and Brown because they didn't get enough assists.
Yeah.
I think what the problem was, and we're all seeing it now, is the problem wasn't that Tatum and Brown didn't each average 5 or 6 assists, but Tatum and Brown weren't making the extra pass. Now, Tatum and Brown are putting teams into rotation. They're catching the ball. They're kicking it to the corner to open shooters. Or even if they're not getting an assist, they're at least moving the ball. They're not waiting for defenses to react like they used to.
Making a more concerted effort to establish a good ball movement.
Yeah, and as such, especially Jason Tatum, his field goal percentage has risen so high because now he's not going against set defenses already. He's getting the ball and he's attacking instead of getting the ball, waiting, and then getting into some ISO package and forcing a mid-range deep 2 off the backboard like he was doing earlier in the season. So they have such a more efficient way of attacking defenses now, which has led to guys like Grant Williams having their 3-point percentages go up. And I think one thing that was also important is Jaylen Brown realized that he wasn't the first offensive option. He's more of a slasher type of guy than a ISO can score on the wing type of player, I think. He's better when he can just get a straight line drive into the rim because he's always going to be one of the more athletic guys on the court.
Yeah.
And he's played in more of that role recently, letting Tatum be the main offensive guy. And then defensively, the Celtics are the most well-rounded defensive team there is. They don't have a single weak link, especially in that starting lineup now that they don't have Schroeder.
I mean, size, speed, strength. I mean, it's just any team that has to play them at this point is going to have a rough night. And I think coming into it now, teams are like a lot more aware of that now. And that's scary. It's like, oh, they're going to give us every single shot. They're going to give us problems.
Right.
And the easiest shots are going to be problems for us and not a guarantee to go in. You know what I mean? So I've loved to see everybody play their role. I've loved what Marcus Smart has been doing.
Smart's been awesome.
He's been playing fantastic.
14-2 with Marcus Smart since February started.
That's crazy. Yeah, I love what he's doing playmaking. I mean, defensively and hustle-wise, he speaks for himself, And he's looked better shooting-wise, especially from the three-point range from what I've seen. So, yeah. So, overall, just this team is scary. This is a team that now you have no choice but to consider as a threat in the East.
Right. The one knock against them is the teams they beat in their winning streak or their stretch are teams that they should beat. They beat Denver, Philadelphia, Memphis, and a healthy Brooklyn. Those are really their only big wins. But other than that, they beat down on Brooklyn twice when they were injured. They've had some kind of fluky losses like Detroit and Indiana.
Yeah, the Detroit one was rough.
2 of their 3 losses in the stretch. The other loss was against the Mavericks on Sunday, where the Mavericks, especially in that fourth quarter, looked awesome. Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie especially. But other than that last game where Luka did kind of burn Rob Williams and Al Horford a few times, especially on one of those clutch plays where he hit the step back over Rob, the Celtics big guys, especially Al, have been able to stay on your John Morant type players for a couple of dribbles. And not many teams have big guys that can do that. And then it's giving the opportunity for Rob Williams to get back into recovery because other big guys can step out, so he's not having to be targeted in the pick and roll too much. So the defense just works so well because Tatum can guard a small and he can guard a big. Brown can guard small and big. Smart can guard small and big, obviously. He's one of the best defenders.
You got multiple players that can guard multiple positions, 1 through 4s easily.
And then Derek White comes in and he's a menace on defense. Grant Williams is a good defender. Peyton Pritchard is definitely the most undersized defender, but he makes up for it, I think, in hustle and quickness.
Peyton Pritchard these last 2 years. He's been fantastic.
Yeah,
really good pickup for us.
They're the number 1 defense in the league, number 1 offense since February 1st. Highest or 4th highest net rating in the league, and you do think that they have real championship aspirations this year?
I do. I 100%. And also we need to give a little bit of credit, I feel like, to Ime Udoka. I think these midseason adjustments he's made are fantastic, and I bet one of the better young, newer coaches in this league. I'm very excited to see what he does in the future. I hope he's here for a long time because I'm loving everything I'm seeing. Even in the losses, I mean, sure, it's a loss, but I'm still loving what I'm seeing, you know what I mean, from this team and from the coaching staff as a whole. So I really like this.
I think he and Brad Stevens have been a really good dynamic duo because it definitely seems like Stevens wasn't the right voice, especially now that we're seeing the offense become so much more efficient with things that we've kind of critiqued for the last couple of years. But Stevens now in that role where he can oversee everything and see the roster from a different perspective. He's made some great moves, like getting in Derek White, like getting back Daniel Tice, like getting a big lineup that can defend. He's given Ime Udoka all the right pieces, and Ime Udoka's done the thing that Stevens couldn't do, which was elevate that offense to a whole new level. The defense was always going to be
always on point, but offensively there were struggles always. There were some sort of struggles during the season. So I mean,
and now Ime and the Celtics are on fire, one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. But the Mavericks, man, they're just too good right now.
Mavericks look fantastic too. I mean, what can you say? I think we can both agree that the Spencer Dinwiddie trade has actually made much more of an impact than I thought it was going to.
And that brings me to my next bullet point here, which is I think this is the first year we're going to see Luka advance past the first round of the playoffs. Mentioning Luka because again they just beat the Celtics on Sunday. Spencer Dinwiddie game winner. Did you think that that foul should have been overturned at the end? Luka kind of high-fived Marcus Smart a little bit on that last 3-point attempt.
Yeah, I mean that's just a tough one. I felt like honestly that one could have gone. Personally, that one could have gone either way for me. If they overturned it, I wouldn't have been surprised, but I also wasn't surprised that they didn't. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that was the thing because they did originally call the foul, so they have to have enough evidence to overturn it, which I guess they thought they did.
Yeah.
Luka told the refs or told his coach, he was like, they touch my hand all the time when I'm shooting, and they always say it's not a foul. So if it's not a foul for me, it shouldn't be for Smart.
There should be consistency with that. I get it. Yeah, I mean.
And it was on Kevin Garnett's jersey retirement day. They lost the game then.
Would have been nice if we pulled out the dub.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
But back to the Mavericks. They're tied with the Jazz for the 5th seed. They have the exact same record. They do play Utah again before the season ends. They are 9-2 with Spencer Dinwiddie. They've beaten Miami, the Warriors twice. They had that huge comeback a while ago. Utah, and like I said, they beat Boston.
Mm-hmm.
They had a weird loss to New York where they lost, I believe, 77 to 107. Just the three ball was not falling. I don't think Luka's ever beaten the Knicks in his entire career, which is
that's just his kryptonite. It's just that one team that always giving you trouble, and it
just
doesn't make any sense because the Knicks have had their fair share of struggles this season too. So,
but since February, Luka 31, 31 and a half, 10 and 7 assists.
I mean, he's special. He's been on a tear, and we expect this out of him now. He's so young and yet so talented, so dangerous. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Luka's one of the best players in the league, man.
I agree.
Already this early into his career.
Do you agree with my assertion that they would beat the Jazz in the first round if that was the matchup?
I think they would, yeah, and especially given the Jazz's playoff record here. I don't trust them moving past this team if they have to go one-on-one.
Right. And Utah's biggest weakness is Denver's greatest strength, which is the three-point shooting and the spreading the court. Because they would probably be able to play Rudy Gobert right off the floor. And Luka would love that matchup. Getting Rudy Gobert on him.
Mm-hmm.
Dorian Finney-Smith spreading the corner. He was great against the Celtics as well. Then you got Dinwiddie, Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr. should be coming back eventually. Dwight Powell can hit it from three a little bit. Maxi Kleber is a respectable three-point option. Mm-hmm. So they kind of are the anti-Jazz, which I think would make for a really entertaining first-round matchup.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I think it would. I think I don't know. Would you give them? How many games do you think it would take for the Mavericks per se to beat the Jazz? Are we talking 6? Are we going to a game 7? Like, a game 5? How are we feeling about that?
I think it'd probably just be a 6-game series. Mm-hmm. I think Dallas probably would have 1 or 2 games where the three's not falling. But Luka would be the best player in the series, definitely, which would be probably the first time you could say it. I think he's been marginally better than Kawhi, maybe, especially last year. He had a great season. But this year he would be far and ahead, heads and shoulders above everybody else on the court, which would give Dallas an advantage they'd never really had. And then other than that, of course, Utah's got their 2 stars. One is more of a star than the other in Mitchell. But supporting cast-wise, I think the rosters kind of level out, and you could argue that Spencer Dinwiddie might be the 4th best player in a series between these 2 teams.
Yeah.
And then the Mavericks defense has been really good too with Jason Kidd. So
yeah, Jason Kidd has been doing great things with this team. So that's another good coach that's not getting enough credit. I think that's really good to see what they're doing.
I was not expecting great things from Jason Kidd. He's not had a great track record as a head coach.
I mean, that's fair. After what we saw in Milwaukee, I mean, there was potential. I mean, he had his fair share of problems, but he's been really good here of late. The whole team has been really good here of late. But I want to pose a question. So I don't know if you saw, but Dorian Finney-Smith was asked how things, and he was talking about how things have meshed out since the Porzingis trade, and all of a sudden they're clicking and they're doing this good. Was Porzingis, looking back on it, was that trade holding this team back? It was Porzingis holding this team back?
It's weird to think about because I think we would both agree that the ceiling is a lot higher with Porzingis than it is with Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Because they could still have gone on to be the best duo in the league in another year or so. But the problem was kind of like what we're seeing with Brooklyn this year is how long are you going to wait? You can wait a couple months. You're going to wait a year. Okay, now you're waiting 2 years. Now Luka's lost in the first round twice. You're going to wait 3 years and let him lose a third time? No. So maybe he was holding them back a little bit, especially in the locker room.
Yeah.
And Dinwiddie seemed to have a similar problem in Washington. Didn't get along great with the other guys.
I personally thought Dinwiddie in Washington was going to be so effective. And
really?
I really thought when – this past offseason when he signed with them, I really thought there was going to be something special in that backcourt. Sad to see it, but I'm glad to see him succeeding a good amount here in Dallas.
Do you think Porzingis was the problem or held them back?
It seems because like when Finney-Smith, there was that quote they took from it, which was now there is no jealousy here now,
right.
And that so we don't know the full details. Maybe that'll come out, but that seems to, it's almost like he was implying that something was up with Porzingis in the locker room that was holding them back, holding the chemistry from becoming what it is now, what it could be, how potentially. So we don't know the full story, but it's very interesting to hear from Dorian Finney-Smith about that.
And at least for one thing, there's certainty going into every single game. You know who will be on the court for the Mavericks, which you couldn't say before with Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know how many games he missed when he got traded to the Wizards.
Yeah.
But he might have missed, I think the first 4 or 5 games after the trade deadline, and it was more of the same when he played in Dallas. It was just you never knew when he was going to be on the court. So at least now you know, okay, we got Luka every night. We got Brunson every night. We got Finney-Smith every night, locked in on both ends. Spencer Dinwiddie every night. Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber every single night. That's 6 guys that you know are going to be there every single night.
That are dependable, basically. That's the magic word, is dependable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The best ability is availability. I'm going to pull this out. This is kind of random, but I've been thinking about it a little bit recently. And speaking of the best ability is availability, I was so right when I said Trae Young was better than Anthony Davis in the top 25 video over the summer. I got clowned for it by you and Stretch. There were mean comments on the video saying that I only watched highlights and I didn't know basketball. But look who's laughing now, because Anthony Davis has been terrible. He could not stay healthy. And as such, the Lakers are terrible this year.
Lakers are abysmal. But honestly, I think we kind of figured they weren't going to be as good. People were giving all this credit, but they signed all these old role players that I didn't think were going to amount to anything. Certain players have been great for them. I've liked what I've seen now. Malik Monk, Russ, for whatever reason, is down a cliff. First time since his rookie year, he's been a 78 in 2K or below an 80 in 2K. I know that's just random, but it's just interesting to say. It's almost like he's been more of a liability. And from what I was reading, I believe a report came out that Russ is definitely not going to be a Laker by next season.
I'm sure they're happy with that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are too. And it's just LeBron's had to carry it because AD's. Like you said, he's been way worse than Trae Young this year.
I nailed that.
But at the time, yes, it was crazy for you to say that because we knew how good AD was.
I don't think so.
I think it was.
Because he didn't.
You wouldn't have got those comments if people didn't think at the time it was crazy.
He was injured.
You're right here and now.
He was injured in the playoffs too. And I said in that video, he can't stay healthy. I can't say he's one of the top 10, top 15 guys in the league if he can't stay healthy. And what nickname has he gotten since then? Anthony Davis. Charles Barkley called him street clothes a couple times. So, I don't know. I feel kind of good about making that pick. I will say, though, I did have Julius.
Good for you. I love you brought that up just to brag like I was right.
I did have Julius. Gotta love it. I did have Julius Randle in my top 25, though. That didn't age.
Yeah, so that evens out. That detracts.
So. I didn't get any hate for that one. I got hate for Anthony Davis, especially.
Well, I'm giving you hate
Stretch.
now.
You're giving me hate for being right.
How could you?
For being jealous. So, the Lakers, if we're going to talk about that dumpster fire, kind of goes hand in hand with the scoring surges that have been going on. Because the Lakers have only won 2 games since the All-Star break, both when LeBron scored over 50. He scored 56 against the Warriors, and he scored 50 against the Wizards.
But, in the world of the NBA and basketball, that's not very good. If LeBron has to drop 50 every time to get a win, and at his age, it's
not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. That's hard.
Yeah, he can do it. He's capable of doing it every once in a while. But like we saw against the Rockets a while ago, that game that went to overtime, his legs, not getting that same lift when he goes in the minute 48 of the game. And we like to think that Father Time has not even touched him yet because the stats are still staggering.
He's just so great that what would affect normal people has been minimalized with him. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. It's like we can definitely tell LeBron is on the decline.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like he makes up for it because he's just that good.
And he's improved as a shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Ever since he fixed, I believe, the elbow injury that forced him to flip a shot, he's looked a lot better with that, hitting deep threes like he's Curry out here.
But I want to go back to Dallas real quick before we finish up trashing the Lakers. So
always down for trashing the Lakers.
Right now they're the 4 seed. They could fall down to the 6 seed, only 1.5 games ahead.
Mm-hmm.
If they are the 4 seed, if they do play the Jazz in the first round, that would mean going into the first round they would have to play the Suns.
They are not beating the Suns.
Okay.
If that's your question.
Okay, I was just going to ask if you think they could win more than one series this year. If they're the 6 seed and they get to play the Grizzlies, then do we see
then I give
possibility?
them to I think they could beat the Grizzlies.
I think they would beat the Grizzlies.
I don't know about that because the Grizzlies have been playing baller this year too. They've been phenomenal. I just think that I could see the Grizzlies. It could go either way, but I could definitely see them winning a series against the Grizzlies too.
One thing that we don't really talk about enough with Luka is how competitive he is. Mm-hmm. Because against the Clippers, going into that series, his first year, not his first rookie year, but his first year in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be able to do it against a top defense. Well, he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And during that series in the bubble, he was getting roughed up by Patrick Beverley and Marcus Morris. So what did he do? He did it again the next year. And what has he done since? He's done it every single time they've played. 51 against the Clippers earlier this year. And then the next game gave him 45, I think.
Yeah.
Then I believe he's 8-2 or 9-2 this season against his contemporaries, Jason Tatum, John Morant, Trae Young. Mm-hmm. Players this year where you were saying, you know what, I think I'd rather have John Morant than Luka. He hears all that, and he goes out and goes absolutely crazy when he plays against those guys. So I think going into a series against Memphis, he would have a heightened sense of, oh yeah, I'm gonna show the world who I am.
What, like the thirst to prove himself
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
He
Yeah.
would go into a series with the, I'm Kevin Durant, you know who I am mindset. And he'd have to prove it, and he backs it
The
up.
only reason I said the Grizzlies could go either way is because we got to remember, I mean, as good as Luka is, he's not going to be the only one playing.
Yeah.
And so that at that point, it's like, at this point, I could see against the Grizzlies, I would question his supporting cast is what I'm saying. Luka, yes, Luka will go crazy, but I could see maybe his supporting cast letting him
I think
down
Jalen Brunson has shown that he's pretty steady, though.
I love Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson is solid. Yeah, I'm just talking about people like Will Spencer. Would he show up in the playoffs? Will Maxi Kleba and Dorian Finney-Smith show up in the playoffs?
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to believe that they will, and I think it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies ended up winning. I think that one might be a 7-game series.
Okay.
I could see that one going. That one would be a tight one, I
think. I don't know. I might be alone in this.
What?
But John Morant, to me, has become kind of annoying.
Why?
I think his head has gotten really big.
As it should. He's been playing phenomenal.
Yeah, but he should still tone it down a lot. He's not nearly as good as he thinks he is, I don't think. Like, he's obviously a lot better than
I feel like I've heard you say similar words like this about Trae Young. Oh, your hate for Trae Young.
I didn't like Trae Young for a while, but I've come around on Trae Young. But John Morant, on the other hand, the Instagram posts where he calls himself 12, which I think is kind of weird. And he posts about how he's like a monster, but his demeanor is humble, but he's going to show you who he is on the court. It's like, come on, you're a really good young player. You started the All-Star game this year, definitely, but you're probably top 5 point guard at best. Or,
top 5 point guard. Yeah.
Top 5 point guard if Kyrie is only playing every other game. But Curry is still better. Luka's still better. I think Chris Paul is still better, especially this season. Chris Paul's been insane.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably debate over Trae Young. And then if Kyrie is playing every game the way he has played every other game this year, you probably still have Kyrie over there ahead of him as well. So I don't know. I don't know. He's never won even a playoff game. They won a playoff game last year, but he didn't even play in it.
I get what you're saying. And, like, it doesn't bother me as much. It has in the past, like, cockiness and arrogance. I don't know if it's necessarily – I don't know if it's border. Do you believe it's reached cockiness at this point?
Yeah,
or is it just overconfident, like, incredible? Because I just kind of see it as an incredibly, like, high amount of confidence.
I think it's gotten to the point where it's kind of cocky.
I mean, if you feel that way, you feel that way. I don't think he's annoying by any means. I've really enjoyed seeing him.
He's entertaining.
Oh my God!
Great.
The Grizzlies are one of the most fun teams to watch right now. I will say it to the nail. They're one of the most fun teams to watch right now, and it's mostly because of him.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but yeah, Ja versus Luka. Wow, what an entertaining series! What an entertaining series that would be.
So speaking of,
I'm so excited for the playoffs. Sorry, I'm so excited.
So while I'm on this kind of streak, I guess, of me proving instances where I was correct about things, when you watched the Nuggets-Sixers game the other night, did you at all think, you know what, maybe Matthew and everybody else is right? Jokic might be a little bit better than Embiid? Or are you still standing pat here today on your take that Embiid is better than Jokic? Because the seasons have been.
I feel like you're treating this like a hot take, and I don't think it's that hot of a take.
It's not Embiid over terribly hot of a take, but I think most people would still agree that Jokic is better.
Again, I'm the real reason I'm taking Jokic is defensive prowess. Not Jokic, Embiid. Okay. My bad. You almost got me. I'm a sucker for good defensive play, and I think he's pretty much. I think convincing we can agree Embiid's much better defender than Jokic is. Right.
Advanced stats would say otherwise, Nathaniel.
I still think Embiid's better. I'm sorry. I am still open-minded. Like you can still change my mind, but currently, yes, I'm still Embiid over Jokic.
Fair enough.
Personally.
Just wanted to see what you had to say.
And if they want to hate on me in the comments, it's fine. I personally prefer. But there's no doubt these are the two best centers in the league, right? There's no doubt. Like to me, they're interchangeable. But you know what?
That's fair enough.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's Apple. I mean, it's kind of like you can go either way, and I'm not going to be mad. Now, if you were to say like Bam Adebayo is a top like 2 center, then yeah, I might have some problems. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
Jokic and Embiid are right there. Even if you put Jokic above Embiid, I think Embiid's like right there. You know what I mean?
And going back to these scoring surges as we talk about great centers, Karl Anthony Towns, I think, has solidified himself as the 3rd best center this season, not just because of the 60-point game, although that helps. But he's just been great this season.
I think at the beginning of this, I was pretty high on Cat, wasn't I? I believe I was pretty high on Cat.
You might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think I was pretty. If we're going back, I think I was pretty high on Cat, and I still had faith Cat would. I think I remember talking about Cat would get back to the way he has, and hey, I mean, he's made the Timberwolves look pretty good. Of course, with everybody else like D'Lo and Anthony Edwards, Anthony Edwards just seemed to have struggled here recently.
Jared Vanderbilt's been good for them. Pat Bev.
Jaden McDaniels, I've seen some good things out of him, and Karl Anthony Towns is right there. I mean, he's been playing out of his mind. He dropped 60. That game was entertaining. That man was not missing from three. It was actually kind of nuts. A center that could pull up from three like that, like imagine you give Cat like Embiid defense. That man is the best center in the league, hands down. Top player in the league, hands down.
I think you overestimate Embiid on defense a little bit.
I don't think I do, but I mean I'm willing to hear arguments in the comments. Comment down below if you think I'm overvaluing his defensive prowess.
So speaking of guys that have scored 60, this is the thing I've wanted to talk about the most here, because now we get to talk about my boy Kevin Durant. He didn't score 60, but Kyrie did last night against the Magic, and that brings us into the surging Brooklyn Nets, making a late season push to maybe avoid the play-in game.
Yeah, I was getting scared here lately. I was like, ooh, yeah, we're looking at Brooklyn playing and Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? It's like we don't know when Ben Simmons is playing. This is scary. Kyrie can only play away games. Like this is not looking good.
They're still more than likely going to be in the play-in game.
Yeah, easily. They're gonna make either. I could see them being maybe pushing up to 7. Do you think they make top 6?
If Cleveland and Toronto would both have to really struggle, and I'm so invested in this little 3-man race right here that I went to the trouble of putting down their schedule, which I'll read real quick. Toronto has to play the Clippers. Could go either way. Lakers should be a win. Philly twice. That's big. Mm-hmm. Chicago, Cleveland. Huge game there. Indiana, Boston, Minnesota, Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, and the Knicks. Cleveland will play Philly twice. Denver, Detroit, Lakers, Toronto, Chicago, Orlando twice. Dallas, Atlanta, the Knicks, the Nets, which will be huge, and Milwaukee. So they both have some tough games in there. For me, as much as I want Brooklyn to make it out of the 6th seed, I think what I would rather have happen is Philadelphia wins all 4 of their games versus these 2 teams, climbs up to the 2 seed. Brooklyn wins their matchup in the first game of the play-in, because I think Brooklyn has the best chance of beating Philadelphia in the first round. I don't think they could beat Milwaukee, and I don't know. Well, I guess that'd be their only other matchup if Milwaukee were the 2 seed, and I don't think they would beat Miami, to be honest, especially with Kyrie.
Yeah, Miami's another team to really think about too. That team is scary.
But Philly, I definitely think Brooklyn would take down Philly.
So, yeah, I could see them taking down Philly. Yeah,
but more concerning than the Philly game or Philly series to me is I don't feel comfortable playing Toronto in a play-in game at all, because any team coached by Nick Nurse is scary, and they have the defense. If there's any team that can defend the Nets, it would be Toronto with their 6'9" defenders like OG Anunoby, Siakam.
Yeah, I
Scotty
feel like
Barnes.
most people are still underestimating just how good Toronto still is.
Right.
So many good pieces on this team. It's actually kind of scary. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. That's one of those teams that's like I wouldn't want to see, because I just know they're going to give me trouble. No matter who it is. Defensively, they're going to give me problems.
Right. And Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA.
Oh, easily. When that man came in, I really wasn't expecting him to be that good. But hey,
I don't think
I've been pleasantly
really
surprised.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised, easily.
But if the Nets can win a couple more games here, maybe they climb up to the 6th seed. This game against Dallas tonight is going to be huge, I think. Not necessarily standings-wise, because they're going to lose at least one game for the rest of the season, so it doesn't really matter if you lose it tonight or if you lose it in a week. But every win, they need every win they can get.
Mm-hmm. Who are you taking tonight? I'm very curious. Who do you think genuinely wins this game tonight? You think I got Mavericks winning it?
It is in Brooklyn, so no Kyrie.
Yeah, I think personally right now I have Mavericks.
I got to go Nets.
Okay, hey.
Kevin Durant's been playing great recently, and the Nets they're on this little streak. Kyrie scored 50 against the Hornets. Then they didn't need 50.
That's great when he actually plays.
Destroyed Philadelphia.
When he's actually allowed to play.
KD scored 53. Kyrie scored 60. So, maybe another 50-point game slides in here real quick for KD. Mavericks don't really have anyone to guard him.
That's true. I mean, it's hard to go to the best player in the world.
And hopefully Seth Curry comes back. He's been out a little bit recently. Hopefully Patty Mills finds his stroke. The Nets have a good supporting cast when everyone is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be a close game, but I will take the Nets tonight.
All right, well, I'll take Mavericks. We'll just have to see.
We will see. And I think we can call it there. You got any other?
No, I think it's good. I think we talked about some major issues, some things that we really needed to talk about as we're coming down this home stretch into the playoffs. We'll be having the play-in tournament soon, you know what I mean? So
exciting time to be a basketball fan.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, playoffs are always the most exciting time.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time on the Debate Mates.
Bye, guys.